Hi, I will be taking you through this presentation on the digitalization of international trade. You may already have experience of digitalization through the use of e-signatures and e-invoices. If you are involved in transport, then you may also have had experience of ECMRs. These are not the only examples of digitized documents. There are others and more are being developed. The presentation will cover the topic of digitalization from a high level. Therefore, I won't go into specific examples. However, we will make reference to an excellent paper published by ICC United Kingdom, Seizing the Moment, Unleashing the Potential of International Trade, where you will be able to read 16 case studies. As will be explained further into the presentation, the United Kingdom plays a particularly important role in the development of digitalization of international trade, simply due to the fact that about 75% of world trade is covered by documents subject to English law. It is also for this reason that the ICC United Kingdom is so heavily involved in the development of standards that relate to the digitalization of international trade. The agenda for this presentation is as follows. First, let's look at the benefits that digitalization brings to the table, so that we can understand why there is all this fuss and why it is worth the undoubted hassle of changing existing systems and procedures. Digitization and digitalization. Is there a difference and does it matter? Legal issues and their impact on documentary digitalization. What are we trying to achieve? The importance of MLETR. MLETR aligned schemes. Which countries are ahead of the game? Finally, we will try to draw some conclusions regarding the road ahead for the digitalization of international trade. Okay, let's get started. So, why all the fuss? What benefits can be derived from the digitalization of international trade? Well, looking at these benefits, you can appreciate the positive economic impact on international trade. 15% increase in profitability, 8% less border waiting times, transactions completed in 1 hour, 30% lower operation costs, data transfer in seconds, 15 to 20% lower berthing costs, 15% increase in on-time delivery, 15% increase in on-time delivery, $300 to $400 of saving per transaction, 100% removal of logistics paper, 18% lower shipping costs. Liquidity raised 7 days faster. If you doubt these figures, then I would refer you to the ICC document that I mentioned previously. They also explain why these developments are completely non-political. Therefore, there is no economic bloc or political entity that is against these developments. It is one of the very few areas where global cooperation genuinely exists. Furthermore, even if there were, no single country could stop the rest of the world benefiting from these developments. However, there are undoubtedly challenges and difficulties in implementing new digital systems, and they do require investment. So now let's quickly have a look at the difference between digitization and digitalization. Is there a difference between digitization and digitalization, and does it matter? Well, both terms are often used as if there is just the one meaning, but there is a difference. Digitization is the process of converting a paper document into a digital file. Digitalization, on the other hand, is the process of using digitized data to convert manual business processes through the use of digital technologies. This includes the acceptance of digital signatures. So imagine that a bill of lading has been converted electronically to create a digital template. This is digitization. This digitized bill of lading is then completed online and then forwarded electronically to a bank to support a request for trade finance. This is instead of being completed in paper format and posted to the bank. This is the digitalization of that process. We would suggest that digitalization in international trade goes well beyond the simple digitalization of documentation. In addition to digital tools and services, artificial intelligence and blockchain are reducing operational, administrative, communication, and marketing costs and risks. Activities that were previously the preserve of large companies are now open to much smaller companies. It is beyond the scope of this particular presentation to describe these in any detail. However, all the presentations in this playlist explain to a lesser or greater degree how you can use online tools and services to develop your international trade potential. Just browse the Exporter's Almanac to see what's available. The link is in the description below. Right. Back to the legal considerations surrounding the digitizing and digitalizing of trade documentation. You will see that this differentiation is important, especially when considering the relevant legal status of the digitized document and the operational feasibility of involving different parties in different legal jurisdictions in a digitalized process. Having touched on a legal consideration, let's now look at the key legal issue that has to be resolved, many times over. As I mentioned on the previous slide, it is true that digitization and digitalization can be considered to be simply technology issues. However, the legal status of digitized trade documents is fundamental. There is little sense in digitizing documents when they do not have the same legal status as the paper documents. As laws relating to trade documentation, bills of lading and exchange, promissory notes, etc. were written largely in the 19th century, they often refer to ownership of paper and physical signatures. Therefore, to give their digital equivalents the same standing, it is necessary to change multiple laws in multiple jurisdictions. This takes time and also careful thought as to how to ensure that the digitized documents have the same properties as their paper equivalents, especially in relation to the concept of ownership of a document. If this cannot be achieved, there is no benefit. In fact, there could be extra costs associated with digitizing these documents. So, what needs to be done to enable the digitizing of trade documentation? We'll look at what we are trying to achieve on the next slide. For digitized documents to have the same standing as their paper equivalents, trade law should support all relevant aspects of e-commerce. This means recognizing both paper and digitized documents as equal legal instruments. However, in individual cases, it has to be one or the other. You can't have a paper bill of lading and a digitized one. Digitized documents also have to be recognized in all the jurisdictions where a trade is taking place. It's a mammoth task, but the good news is that work has been going on for more than 30 years at the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law. Of particular importance is the Model Law on Electronic Transferable Records 2017. A link to this body is included in the description below. So what is MLETR and how does it help? We'll have a look at this on the next slide. The core principles of MLETR. Under this model law, the electronic equivalent of paper-based transferable documents are defined as electronic transferable records, subject to the conditions set out in this slide. That is, the document must contain the information of the paper-based document, identify the record as an electronic transferable record, be capable of being subject to control, retain its integrity, that is, it must be complete and unaltered, and finally, it must be in the exclusive control of an identified person. The law also states that an electronic transferable record issued or used abroad should not be denied legal effect or enforceability. The law also requires that a reliable method, judged against a set of standards, be used to determine that these conditions have been met. The law also tries to address the issue of cross-border effectiveness. As we will see on the next slide, the good news is that the laws of many countries are now being aligned to MLETR principle. English law is also being used as a guide as to the practical implementation of MLETR at a national level. You can find a complete list of countries that have adopted the MLETR at the UN website indicated on this slide and in the description below. As I mentioned previously, the adoption of the MLTR by the United Kingdom has been a crucial step in the acceptance of MLETR and therefore the digitalisation of international trade. The reason why this development was important is because the use of English law is dominant internationally for international commercial contracts, banking and finance, maritime and shipping, mergers and acquisitions, dispute resolution, and international arbitration. By 2026 or 2027, it is estimated that the majority of trading nations will be aligned with MLETR. So here are my conclusions. The digitalisation of international trade will expand exponentially over the next few years. This will open up new major trading opportunities as the ease of international trade increases and the costs significantly decrease. MLETR is providing the necessary legal framework to allow this transition from paper-based systems and processes to electronic. The more countries that align with MLETR, the greater the network effect.
Well, thank you for listening to this presentation, and I hope that I have managed to convince you of the benefits and practicality of digitalized international trade, and I truly hope that you can benefit from these opportunities in the very near future. If you have any questions at any time about the digitalization of international trade, you know where to contact me. The websites and documents that I have mentioned in this video are listed below. I hope you find them useful and that they can help you realize and expand your international potential. If you would like to contact me directly, please feel free to do so. Our website and my email address are on this slide and in the description below. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more insights on growing your international trade potential. Just click the subscribe link on the screen. It doesn't cost anything. If you think anyone you know would be interested, please share this link with them. And if you're ready for the next step, check out the next video in the playlist. It's linked right here.